Hello, thank you.
Hello, thank you very much. And thank you for being here. Welcome to AOL Build.
Hi, Matthew.
Hi, Kurt.
All right, let's get into this.
Roustabout! Yeah, first of all, do you have to say it that way?
I think, when most of the time we were filming it, it was me just, no one could hear me talk because of the wind of the boat. And so I'm just talking essentially to myself with a mic, and I just kept screaming Roustabout like that. Roustabout!
So you don't. But would you ever whisper it quietly, sadly to yourself?
The amount, every day we were doing like 150 to 200 miles on a jet ski. And so, yeah, I did it every way. I cried. I have the literal tears coming down my face at one point.
Oh. So tell us, when you conceived of this madness to begin with, how did you think about it? You sat down with a writing partner and the director of the show.
It was, we originally, we're going to make a web series for Comedy Central that was just going to be me interviewing people. And then kind of based on this whole thing that I was trying to do for a while of what's the dumbest way to make the world a better place? And we started thinking what is the dumbest way? And I was like, I want to jet ski across the country. And they were like, well, that's impossible. That's not a thing that exists. And then we were like, but there is a Mississippi River. Technically, you could jet ski from Chicago to New Orleans. And then my writing partner, Scotty Landis, was the one who said, we should do it for charity. We should send 500 goats to Africa. And I was like, yes, we should. And so that's kind of how it all came together.
So, but what made you think, we should also add altruism to this experiment?
I'm under the impression, or at least my theory is that any way you can insert stupidity or absurdity into the world, that makes it a better place, if only a little bit, because it changes people's kind of everyday life from a boring routine to something else, at least. It kind of gives you a different perspective. And we kind of wanted to take that concept, which is a little ethereal, and then apply it actually to the real world. How can we actually make the world a better place? And then the heifer.org is who we worked with, and they're kind of amazing. They can provide 2 goats and 1 chicken for a family in Africa. Kind of creates a renewable economy for them, which I think is a very cool idea. And so we were very excited to work with them.
So things very quickly on this trip go sour.
Yes. We ran out of gas on the first day. 5 hours in, we ran out of gas. There were supposed to be 6 gas stations between. We started in Lake Michigan, and we would go from Chicago River to Illinois River to the Mississippi. And we were supposed to cover about 150 miles in that first day, and 6 gas stations, all that we thought were open, were closed. And so it was actually our chase boat that ran out of gas. And when a car runs out of gas, it just stops. But then when a boat runs out of gas, it just drifts into danger. And so there was an oncoming barge and everything that had to get towed. We actually had to have the boat towed. So right off the bat, it was a disaster. And we also had to have we had a PA who actually had to go to Sears, buy gas canisters, get them filled up at a gas station, drive another hour to meet us. And the Illinois River is just it's really an industrial waterway. It's just 8-foot-tall walls and just sludge in the middle. And there's one section. It's crazy that this all came together in this way. But there's one section where there's this invasive species of Asian carp that are coming up the Illinois River. And if they make it to the Great Lakes, they'll decimate the Great Lakes. And so what they've done to solve that problem is for a mile of the river, they've just electrified the water. So the water's just electrified, and it's called an electric fish barrier, and that is where we ran out of gas. And so we're literally, at this poor PA, who has to, jump a fence and run through, a field just ruled by rats, and then throw canisters of gas 8 feet down to us so we can fill up the jet ski and fill up the boat that was totally out of gas because everybody else was on fumes. And then we had to continue on. And because of that, we lost so much time, we couldn't actually make it to where you get the boats out of the water and had to crash land, essentially, at the only place where you could pull a trailer up to the water, which was this abandoned grain silo.
Which you call Nightmare City?
No,
or
the
something?
Nightmare Factory.
The Nightmare,
the
Nightmare Factory.
That was what I named it, the Nightmare Factory, because it does look like where you like grind up bad thoughts and pour them into children's head.
At that point, when
night.
you landed there, what possibly were you thinking about the fate of this project?
I mean, that was the first day, and so it was definitely like, I have put everyone in harm's way. Like, this dumb idea is risking people's lives. And it was kind of amazing to get, like, how else would I ever see that Nightmare Factory? I don't know, unless you crash land from the river. You can't get on it because it's private property, and I'm not allowed to tell you who owns it, but I know, and they were not happy when they showed up when we were there, and yeah, it was a big problem. But it was crazy. I mean, I thought that every day would be like that. Luckily, not every day was like that.
Yeah. The series rebounds pretty quickly,
Yeah.
I think. And is it safe to say that, in a way, it's almost like nature saves you?
Yeah, there is like this kind of like bucolic kind of theme that comes through later. After we get past St. Louis, like St. Louis was very disgusting. Not as a city, but the river, like where the Mississippi is in St. Louis, is like, this is a horror show.
Because if you're watching in St. Louis, you're great.
Yeah,
maybe
it's great.
The
It's great. It's
waterways,
very nice. They know it's a horror show. But like 80 miles south of that, it just becomes like, like the grand artery of America that you imagine it to be. And that was not until the third day. But on the third day, we're halfway done, and I was like, oh, this is what I thought this would be like. Just jet skiing down, like, Huck Finn, just doing it up.
Oh.
Whoops.
Yeah. So, and then shortly thereafter,
Yes.
there are several stops where you do shows.
Yes, we did shows, and I had a bunch of comedians come and meet me on the way. The whole idea was like to build up awareness for this Indiegogo campaign that we were running at the time to raise $50,000. And so John Daly met me in St. Louis, and we did a show, and then we did we pulled a jet ski underneath the St. Louis Arch. And then Kristen Shaw met me, Kyle Kinane met me. Kyle Kinane's episode is amazing. We were that's the one where we formed a bike gang.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that.
A jet ski gang.
Yeah, because you guys show up at a biker bar in pleather vests.
Yeah, we had pleather vests because our jet ski gang was named the Wet Ones. Live fast, die moist was our thing. And so we're still wearing them, and we go into this biker bar, and unbeknownst to me, but the director, Jeff Tomzik, had requested, it turns out that the guy who owns the bar is a biker, and he's in a gang, and he's like, can you bring your bike gang to watch this show at 11:30 a.m. on a Tuesday? And he's like, yeah. And then this bike gang shows up, like expecting free alcohol, and we immediately gave it to them because they were very angry. And then we did like a brunch hour comedy show for this bike gang. I've never been so intimidated by a crowd. And Kyle Kinane got up in a pleather vest that says the Wet Ones, a vest that's essentially made to make fun of bike gangs in front of an actual bike gang, and he destroys. Like, he really destroys. It's amazing.
He finesses an entire sort of upset-looking biker gang.
I mean, there's one guy who just starts saying weird homophobic stuff in the audience, and he directly addresses it and talks about gay sex with this man and kind of gets him on board. Like I think he changed his mind.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of thing that, it was like, how else would we have ended up there, you know?
And how was your set at that biker bar?
It was awkward. I started off with like, just got married, and everyone's like, bad move. It was just like, all right. It was very uncomfortable. And then I was like telling them all about this charity effort, and they're like, we don't care. Is this not for America? They were mad about it not being for America.
Somewhere along the waterway, you managed to officiate a wedding.
Yeah, we did
on
that.
Jet skis.
It was all this stuff about how to build awareness of the campaign that we were running. And so I just tweeted out, like, does anybody want to get married on a jet ski?
It was a whim. It was a whimsical tweet.
Yeah. And because I'm an ordained minister in two, legitimately fake religions, but they are legal. And I've married a bunch of friends, so I was like, I can do this. And these kids from Washington were like, we totally want to do it. And they came out, and we married them on a jet ski. And then moments after, and then like they got on one jet ski and drove away together. But he wasn't very good at driving the jet ski, and they capsized immediately.
I know, and he loses his ring.
It was just a slow up there underwater, upside down.
It's such a sad image.
He lost his wedding ring, too.
And have you heard from them since? Are they still married?
Yes, they're totally,
okay.
yeah. They did like a more official ceremony with their family later in Washington. But yeah, and he also, it wasn't his like real wedding ring. It was a wedding ring that he was just using for the jet ski thing, because he was worried about that happening.
It was a prop.
Yeah, it was a real prop. It was like, a ring he had.
And this brings up an interesting point. One of the things I was going to talk about is the show has a lot of moments of genuine pathos in it. It's not just, it's a comedy show and it's very funny, but there are moments of deep soul searching, like, this
There's a lot of sadness there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of sadness.
Why did you keep this stuff?
I think without that sadness, then it's boring. Do you know what I mean? Like, so much of life is sad, And that's, I think, why I do what I do. Anyway, it's just like, if we can insert just a moment out of like the boring everyday suffering of our lives, if there's going to be a moment that's a little bit different and a little bit more weird, then like that's what I intend to do. But you can't ignore all the sadness around it, And also just attempting to do something and failing. Like at the time we stopped doing the show, we had only raised like $20,000. So I had done like, I'd broken my taint, I'd broken my legs. It was, a lot of rashes, guys, a lot of rashes. In places I couldn't even imagine before. I don't even know if I can say that on AOL.
No, we can. I asked because I knew we were going to talk about your taint, so I asked.
Okay.
And we can go
as deep as we want.
We can go as deep into the taint as we want.
I'm just saying, don't pee in your wetsuit when you're going to sit without getting in the water for 8 hours. Didn't realize that.
My question, like, what kind of permanent, what's the state of your taint now?
It's fine. It's totally recovered. Really? I still have a scar on my leg from a rash I got there, but it's going away slowly.
But
that was just from rubbing against the machine itself.
Yeah, I don't know if you can tell from this angle, but it's all ship-shape down there.
It's all ship-shape. Yeah.
That's wonderful. Yeah. That's great news. But so you were saying, like, you didn't quite raise all of the money that you hoped to raise.
Right, so we didn't raise all the money, and so we actually continued the campaign after we had finished the trip, and we ended up raising $35,000 out of the $50,000, and now we're hoping to just, while people actually watch the series, at the end there's it's not like, you have to donate now, please, it's more like, hey, if you like this and want to help out, here's a link, so people can still donate to Heifer. And I think we'll hopefully get to $50,000, which would be cool to have that as a number, to know 500 goats, 1,000 chickens, 500 families got this gift.
Yeah. It's interesting because the series ends on this almost bittersweet note. It's this great triumph. They get to...
And a failure at the same time. That's the best kind of triumphs, is failure triumphs, where there's just some sadness mixed in with the joy. I think that's much more enjoyable.
Yeah, because the last voiceover in the series is Kurt saying, well... I guess we didn't do it. I'm here with the brass band playing behind me while I'm pulled through New Orleans.
miles.
Pulled through New Orleans on a jet ski with Kristen Shaw, and there's a party going on, and it's, I guess we didn't do it, folks.
Yeah. I also like that, because that's the thing. It took a long time to edit this, just to figure out, because, it was 50 hours of footage or whatever. And it was to figure out, like, what is this thing going to be, And we decided to, like, keep everything, like, warts and all. Like, even when we, like, there's a section where I'm just like, sometimes you have to have bad ideas. And I like that idea. I like the idea of like, having an idea and trying it and having it fail is just, to me, as enjoyable to watch as it being successful.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, what did you learn, and what should we learn from what you learned in doing this?
It's a bad idea to travel industrial waterways on a vehicle primarily intended for divorced dads to seem cool to their kids while still getting drunk. That's, I think, the main takeaway.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good one. And actually, that's like a very simple thing that we can follow.
And actually, you know what? I did realize on a personal level that I maybe, like during this beautiful moment of being on the Mississippi, the third day when it really like opened up and was great, I had to deal with the fact like, oh, am I a jet ski guy? Like I was like, I didn't think I was a jet ski guy, but I love this. Maybe I'm a jet ski guy. Like maybe I should get divorced and get a houseboat, start saying weird, almost racist stuff.
That's still possible for your
It's still
future.
possible.
Don't let go of the dream.
I can always move to Florida. Listen, I know this is through the whole country. I apologize to Florida and St. Louis, okay?
We live in a forgiving nation.
Yeah,
right?
No, we don't.
But big dreams, big ideas. Are we to imagine that they're only going to stir up trouble and bring pain and failure in our lives?
Yeah, but what else you got to do? You're gonna dream little and then be disappointed? Why not dream big and be disappointed?
Yeah, right? Then you lunged and you felt a real pain when you landed on your taint.
Exactly.
That's possible.
That's exactly right.
Let's take just a moment. I think we can talk a little bit more because this project, the Roustabout project, is like one of these larger social projects you like to try out on people.
Yeah.
You like, as you were saying, to insert absurdity into people's daily lives. Can you tell us a little bit about these other sort of social projects? I know we've talked about the word prank, and you don't like the word prank, which I understand.
I don't like the word prank because prank has a specific audience, and it's kind of for an aha gotcha moment. And I'm not interested in aha gotcha moments. Like for instance, one of the things I was doing like that inspired kind of this was this thing called the greeting card project, where I would go into pharmacies and buy a bunch of greeting cards and then take them home and then change them with like alternate endings with jokes, and then take them back and put them back in the store. So, and then I would leave. So I don't know if anybody saw them, but they were always kind of like, that was like little Easter eggs in the real world, which I like. I like that idea. I was raised Catholic, and Catholic has this, like, there's so many saints and, like, so many holy objects and everything like that, and I love the idea that there's this world beyond the normal world. Like, here's this, like, metal, and it's just like a piece of metal, but also it's, like, this magical thing, and I like that in a secular way, So that's the reason I've been trying to do it.
Hence the term Easter egg.
Yeah, Easter egg, exactly. So it's like there's a little bit of possibility in every mundane thing. If you can kind of infuse it with that little bit of possibility, I think that's cool.
Is it possible to communicate one of the greeting cards even if you don't have it
here? Yeah, one maybe. I don't know if it'll work without seeing it. One was like it said, "What is a sun?" And it had just like it was for Father's Day or something. And it had like a picture of a river. And then on the inside, I just wrote, "Sorry, I don't know. Sorry I wasn't around. Love, Dad."
Yeah, and I think everyone has received at some point or another that river. That if they, son or daughter, but that nature imagery.
Yeah.
And also the airplane project, which then became the title of your comedy.
Yeah, that was I did a Kickstarter to raise $4,000 to skywrite How Do I Land over LA, and we did that. So we had a man in a plane write that.
Yeah.
And then and then I was just like, oh, it's a nice name for a title for an album.
And was there some absurd, other than religion, some absurd thing in your life that you felt really influenced the way that you wanted to communicate this stuff to people?
It was actually right when I moved to New York City, I started doing this thing with my friend Matt Murphy called Chegwin and Chunk. And Chegwin was 12 feet tall. He's half chicken, half penguin. And Chunk was evil half-brother. He was half chicken, half skunk. And these were like these giant costumes that Matt had built. And we would just show up in public places and have these battles. And it kind of grew to be like a big thing. And the battles just involved us bumping up against each other until I fell over and my head popped off. But they grew to be these really big things. And by the time our last event, it was like, something like 2,000 people, and we like shut down Broadway for a half an hour, like March. This was before 9/11, when you could just shut down Broadway and not get killed. And And yeah, so I was inspired by that, by the fact that our idea behind that was like, how do you take a public space that's usually used for like, in people's minds, it's mapped as like, this is my walk to work space, or this is my get coffee space, and make it like a chicken penguin fighting arena. And so then in their mind, it's always these two things, you know, layered on top of each other, which I thought was cool.
But some of these things, like the greeting cards, the seeing a plane skyride, how do I land? I assume that no one is going to be able to trace it to you unless they love comedy. What's the reward in that?
Oh, I think that just knowing it's out there, right? I mean, like the world's a little bit weirder then. I think that's a reward. You know, I mean, like obviously with this is with Roustabout, it's obviously weird, and then we made a web series out of it. You know, it's just kind of trying to find a way to like bring it to more people in a way. You know, because a lot of times I was just jet skiing. No one knew about it. It's a very solo activity. Yeah.
And so, what can you see? Like, is there a Roustabout 2 project fomenting somewhere?
I mean, we've got ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ideas you're willing to share?
Oh well, maybe we'll put a soft serve machine on top of Mount Everest. That's what I've been wanting to do. So that if you make it up to the hardest place to get to on Earth, there's some soft serve waiting for you.
With just an incredibly long extension cord.
I mean, that's going to be the funniest part.
Yeah.
That hilariously long extension cord.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So, and tell us, not only for the people in the room, but also anyone watching, you are now going on a Roustabout tour, yes?
Yes, I am. So if you just Google Kurt Comedy, you'll find my website, or you can go to Comedy Central, and there's a Roustabout Tour page. I'm going all over the country, and I'll probably be coming to you. I'm in Houston on Friday, and then in March I'll be in North Carolina and Pittsburgh and Athens, Georgia. So yeah.
And tonight.
Tonight at the Bell House in Brooklyn, New York at 9 p.m.
Yeah, you have a busy day. And you're also on TV very shortly.
Yes, I go to Seth Meyers to tape right after this.
So watch Seth Meyers, Bell House tonight, the Roustabout Tour.
Yeah.
Thank you. Oh, wait, do we get to take questions? We get to take questions. That's exciting. Let's do that.
All right, let's do questions from real human beings.
Real people, not comedy
Yeah.
robots.
There it is.
Do people think you're joking? Like, are they waiting for a punchline when you start talking about chickens and goats?
I mean, that's the thing about it, is that the goats and chickens are the funniest animals. And so that's what I kind of like about it, is that it's a legitimate charity, and actually it really helps people. And it also happens to use two hilarious-looking animals. Probably the funniest animals. Like, I think a chicken standing on top of a goat could be like a universal symbol of comedy. But yeah, that's what I loved about it. It was just kind of perfect in that way. When I found out about it, I was like, this is a real thing? This is amazing. I was very excited.
I'm hoping, maybe in the future someone can go take a photo of one of these chickens and goats.
I'm sure thousands exist. I'm ready to find one.
But the chickens that you helped.
That I did. That's the one thing I wish I could have done, is I wish we could have flown to whichever country. The heifer kind of analyzes which country needs these resources the most, and then provides them that way. And so I would have loved to have gone and see kind of like how it works and everything like that. But maybe that's for next time.
Maybe that's Roustabout 2.
Roustabout 2. Just me touring. Touring goat farms.
But can we keep the chicken on the goat for just a second for this photo?
Yes.
Hello.
Hi.
I know you have a podcast on the Nerdist Network, and I was wondering, with the rise of Serial, there's been like a podcast boom. Do you have any thoughts on that? Are you seeing like more traffic coming to your podcast? Do you have other thoughts on?
Yeah. I mean, like a podcast, that like the comedy community. It's interesting that Serial, a non-comedy podcast, really brought such a wider audience to podcasts, but the comedy community has been like pumping them out for many years, and I'm kind of a late player to the podcast game, I would actually say, but my podcast is a multi-format podcast, which means that like kind of the format changes every week, but one of them format's called Get Lost, where I blindfold a comedian and I put him in my car and I drive him somewhere he's never been. and then and he has to figure out where he is and how to get home.
And you've taken their wallet.
No, I don't take their wallet or their phone. That was the original idea. But there's one episode, like I brought Rory Scovel to an abandoned nuclear missile silo outside of L.A. It was very scary. And so it's kind of like urban exploration and an interview show. And another one is, another format is called Wedlock. I host it with my wife, and it's all about marriage. And so, yeah, there's a bunch of different formats to it. And so I think that kind of is, it's a different idea in the podcast world to have just like a bunch of different stuff. But it's been catching on, so I've been very happy with it.
And have you noticed people said, "Oh, I loved Serial. The K-hole was like that's what got me into the K-hole. The Serial."
Yeah, just a lot of people came off that crime podcast and went right to blindfolding comedians.
Right. That's the natural progression of
It is the natural progression.
Hey, Kurt.
Hi.
Speaking of the Nerdist Network, you're probably one of the best ones on At Midnight.
Oh, thank you.
If you could pick 2 other comedians to go on the show with, who would you pick to go on with?
Oh, my goodness. See, that's a hard question because At Midnight's a game show, so you want to win. So you don't want anybody too good. But I would be willing to lose. I would be willing to lose if I could play against Bill Murray and a talking dog. Those would be my 2. Those would be the best, really.
Any particular breed of talking
It
dog?
It doesn't even have to really talk. It can just be a dog that sits there, and then someone scrolls in answers from the bottom. If it can just bark on command, totally happy.
Oh yeah, I should. Showbiz dogs.
Showbiz dogs.
That's
It's
required.
it's their bread and butter,
Right.
Matt.
Any? Oh, one more.
Hey, you mentioned that you discovered that you might actually be a jet ski guy.
Yeah.
What was the most surprising thing that you learned about jet ski culture or jet skis through this experience?
That they have a magazine. That's the most surprising thing. The jet ski, they have a magazine called like Personal Watercraft Weekly, I think it's called, PWW.
Very highfalutin.
Yeah, and that's because we needed to reach out to the jet ski community. It's so weird that I had to say that sentence just now. We had to reach out to the jet ski community because when we wanted to do the jet ski gang in Tennessee, we needed a bunch of jet skiers, and they were super supportive and very cool, and rallied a bunch of people. Like, people drove hours to come down and meet us at like 6:30 in the morning to just, do this very weird thing where we just drove around as an unruly jet ski gang.
In formation.
In formation, we got a V formation. Originally, I always imagined it as kind of like the Apocalypse Now, when the Flight of the Valkyries is in and all the helicopters are coming in. That's what I wanted it to look like, and I think it does. But we didn't use that song. There was a lot of Apocalypse Now moments actually in the series.
Did you meet Kurtz?
Yeah, we met Kurtz. It's me.
Kurtz.
The last episode is actually the whole open is an homage to Apocalypse Now, where he is getting drunk in the hotel room and tries to smash a mirror, or I try and smash a mirror, but Martin Sheen actually does. Yeah.
Wow, I watched that and it didn't occur to me at all. Wow.
That's fine. Then it's a good homage. Secret.
I also noticed you have that souped up Roustabout jet ski, custom jet ski. Do you own that jet ski?
No. That's just a wrap. We just got it wrapped that way. As you can see, it was like, Jeff Tomzik, our director, designed that, and we're just like, what's the dumbest thing we could do? And he's like, Hawaiian shirt print and American flag. And I was like, do it.
I like to imagine it's just parked in a driveway.
It totally is. It 100% is. I think they recently removed the wrap, but we had them keep it on just in case we needed to do pickups. We never did, so that just means we had him keep it. He had to drive around on it like that for a while.
Anyone else? Oh, one more.
While watching the trailer, we saw pasta on your face.
Yes.
Now, did you ever have a break to eat, or was this real life?
Oh no, that was we would totally break to eat normally. The way it would happen is we would shoot for usually 6 or 7 hours in the morning, then break and have lunch, and then just ride for about 7 or 8 hours. But we did experimented with what were the dumbest foods to try and eat. while jet skiing. And so the funniest looking one was the noodles. But we tried a pizza. It didn't look right because the whole pizza just blew up into my face. But you couldn't tell it was a pizza. It just looked like a piece of paper or something. We tried a hot dog. We did a pastrami sandwich. Tried a lot of potato chips. We put a lot of food in the river, is what I'm saying.
Again, big dreams in comedy. Big dreams.
Just try a lot out.
You got to try.
Yeah, that was an afternoon. That was an afternoon of just trying to eat different foods while going 40 miles an hour.
I was going to say, at the other end of things, though, not to get too graphic, well, sure, but you jump in the water and you tell everybody you're about to take a dump in the river.
That's a totally fake.
Oh,
I did not defecate in the Mississippi River. No matter how dirty it already was, I did not want to add that to it. But there is a moment that suggests that I'm doing that, where I'm yelling at everyone to turn around.
Just suggested dumping.
It doesn't suggest. I scream that I'm taking a shit. So it's more than a suggestion.
But it was for comedy. It's for comedy, guys.
It's for comedy.
Didn't hurt the Mississippi at all.
Yeah.
All right, so I think that's it. Thank you very much, Kurt, for being here.
Thank you, Matthew.
Heck yeah, thank you all for coming.
Thank you very much,
out
guys.
there.